Day 610 of doing a LeetCode problem every day until I get a job. All right, y'all, we're back again. Another day, another LeetCode problem where we're doing daily LeetCode problems. In the day, we have question number 1411, number of ways to paint N by 3 grid. The difficulty level is hard, but don't worry because you already know we're going to keep the solution as simple and easy to understand as possible. But before we get started, y'all, don't forget to like, hype, subscribe, comment, and share. And if you need any new Apple AirPods, go ahead and check out that link in the description so you can get you some. Now let's see what the question says. Sorry, y'all. You have a grid of size n by 3 and you want to paint each cell of the grid with exactly one of the 3 colors, red, yellow, or green, while making sure that no 2 adjacent cells have the same color, i.e. no 2 cells that share vertical or horizontal sides have the same color. Given n the number of rows of the grid, return the number of ways you can paint this grid. As the answer may grow large, the answer must be computed of modulo 10 to the 9th power plus 7. So before we get started, y'all, let's just handle this modulo 10 to the 9th power now, right? So we're just going to say so we don't forget, we're going to say let mod equal 1 underscore 000 underscore 000 underscore 007. Boom, just like that. Now that we understand the question, let's get into the fun part, the actual solution. Excuse me, y'all. Let's get into these examples. Now that we understand the question, let's get into these examples to make sure that we are doing this question properly. So in example 1, we have our input n equals 1. So that means that it's going to be a 1 by 3 grid, right? That's what this is. This right here is 1 by 3, right? It's 3 different cells and it's only 1 row. Boom. It says the output is 12. It says there are 12 possible ways to paint the grid as shown. So remember, we want to paint each cell of the grid with exactly one of the 3 colors, red, yellow, or green, while making sure no 2 adjacent cells have the same color. So in this case, you can see these are all of the different ways that we could paint a 1 by 3 grid with these 3 colors such that no 2 colors, or excuse me, such that the same colors are never next to each other, right? So you can see it's a red here. The next red isn't till all the way over here. The red is not touching each other. The 2 red cells are not touching, right? Similar over here, the 2 yellow cells are not touching. Here, none of the cells are touching another cell that has the same color. Here, none of the green cells are touching each other, right? So we always have to, in this example, we always have to make sure that we have a different color in between the 2 outside cells if the 2 outside cells are the same color. If they're not the same color, like right here, then we just need to make sure that we don't have 2 of the same colors next to each other, right? So right here, no 2 adjacent cells have the same color. So boom, there are 12 different ways that we can do this. That's why we return 12. These are the 12 different ways right here if you want to look at them. Now, just in case that didn't make sense, let's take a look at example 2. Like it said, the answer can be very large, right? So that's what example 2 is. So example 2 is, what if we have n equals 5,000, meaning we have 5,000 different rows, right? So it would be 5,000 by 3. So imagine this just has 5,000 rows. If it did, then the answer would come up to 30,228,214. Boom. So I hope that makes sense to y'all. Just remember, no 2 cells, no 2 adjacent cells can have the same color, and we want to know how many ways we could paint this grid without 2 colors, or excuse me, without the same color being next to each other. Boom. So now that we understand the question, now let's get into the fun part, the actual solution. Solution is not that difficult at all, y'all. So let's get into it now. We already handled our modulo, so now we're going to create a variable to store the number of ways to paint a row using 3 different colors where all 3 columns have a different color. So we'll just come right here, declare a variable. We can call this one color 1. Boom. And we're going to set that equal to 6 to start. Boom. Then we need the number of ways to paint a row using exactly 2 colors. Or we could name this color 3 because this is 3 colors, right? Whereas if right here we use 3 colors, right here we use just 2 colors, yellow and red. Here we use green, red, and yellow. So let's just call it color 3 because that's when we might use 3 colors, and then we'll declare another variable where we use 2 colors, and we could just call this color 2, and we'll set that equal to 6 as well. Boom. Now we need to handle the base case. If there's only one row, then we can return the total number of valid colorings by just coming right here. We're going to use a guard statement. We're going to say guard n is greater than 1, else we'll open up the brackets and we'll return, open up the parentheses, color 3 plus color 2. Boom. Now we need to iterate from the second row up to the nth row and updating the number of valid colorings dynamically. So we're going to come underneath this guard and we're going to say for underscore n 2 dot 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 n. We're going to open up the brackets and we're going to store the previous color 3 value before updating it. So we're going to say let temp equal color 3. Boom. Now we need to update color 3. From the previous color 3, there are 2 ways to choose colors for the next row. And from the previous color 2, there are also 2 ways. So we're going to come underneath this. We're going to say color 3 equals, open up the parentheses, 2 times color 3 plus 2 times color 2. Then we'll just come outside of this. We're going to say mod. Boom. Now we need to update color 2. From the previous color 3, there are going to be 2 valid transitions. And from the previous color 2, there will be 3 valid transitions. So this time we'll come underneath this. We'll say color 2. Set that equal to, open up the parentheses, 2 times temp plus 3 times color 2, and once again we're going to come outside of that. We're just going to say mod. Boom. Now we just need to return the total number of valid colorings by coming right here underneath this for loop, and we can say return, open up the parentheses, color 3 plus color 2. Come outside those parentheses and we'll just say mod, y'all. Boom. That should be all she wrote. Let's give it a run. Make sure it runs properly before we submit it. It's accepted, so let's go ahead and submit it. Make sure it's still accepted after we submit it. Boom, y'all. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I like to see. 0 milliseconds beats 100% of users, y'all. So with that being said, this is the whole code right here. Boom. And yeah, y'all, I hope y'all learned something today, and I hope to see y'all here tomorrow for another day, another LeetCode problem. See y'all then.